Kūreitanga for me is an understanding of a concept that is ancestral in its origins. It's about the shape of the peninsula, which is Taranaki. It's about that shape, and that's one reference to it. And the other reference to it, which is more significant, is about all of the histories, all of the stories, all of the practices, all of the law, L-O-R-E, of the people of Taranaki. And so Kūreitanga, as a title for this work, was to acknowledge that the work is coming from our people, from the essence of who we are here in Taranaki.
Pera o ki rā te uuka o te rangi te tuku tuku.
Yeah, pera hoki is a karakia waiata, and it talks about the relationship between the heaven and the earth through water, and understanding that water comes in many different forms, from ice to snow to rain to mist, all of those different things, and in the different forms the water can find its way into the aquifers, through the soil, into ponds and pools, and do what it does as water. So for me to be able to translate the dialogue into image, it was about finding the shapes and forms and combining them into imagery that would represent the essence of the water, the way that water behaves, not so much about what it looks like as we know it, but about its behaviour and how it interacts. That's what I tried to achieve with Pera Hoki as the brief to the work in Kūreitanga. It was exciting to be given the opportunity. So, and that's part of production, because you have emotions, and I had to consider the first brief, which was about Govett, Brewster gallery having a relationship with community, broader community, iwi, hapu, and globally as well. And so before I saw the space for the work, I had to have an understanding of why I was going to be doing this work. So, and that's very much, for me, is very much about process. And then it was looking at the space, being introduced to the space and responding to that space initially. And when one sees the work, one doesn't see the work. You don't see it in its entirety as you would view a normal painting or an image. So it was, how do I engage with this space, with this wall, and then the studio that this wall is in. There's a lot of what would you say, disconnects between space. There's lots of disconnects between space. There's lots of disconnects between how a person is wanting to interact with that space. There's nothing standard about it, and so it could easily cause a person, a practitioner, to say, no, I don't want to be involved. I don't want to do this, because it's very challenging. And I kind of saw it as being about people or about the gallery being challenged by that process of interaction anyway. And I saw it at a personal level. I saw it about me being challenged by space. Previous works that I've done, you can't see all of the work, and so I took it as being, oh well, maybe this is the direction that my career has to go to challenge me, to test me. And once all of that became apparent, it was then about what is the space saying to me in terms of storyline. And for me, it was saying that the heavens and the earth, the floor and the sky, needed to be connected. And the architecture was saying that that's what it was doing. So I wanted to interact with it in that way as well. I didn't want, on the design, I didn't want it to be another story of rangi and papa and that creation process. And as important as that is, Māori belief goes beyond that. It's what's happened since the creation process. And Perahoki was the opportunity to discuss what has happened since, if you like. And that was introduced to me by Dr. Ruakere Hond. And he made it very clear in his explanation that this spoke about rangi and papa in a way beyond that creation story. The original brief through the gallery, it was about Māori having a voice within the gallery, and I wanted that so much for our tangata whenua to have a voice within the gallery, because I have never had a voice in the gallery, and there are many artists in this familiar or in a similar situation to myself. So this was an important task. So that became part of the brief as well. With the work that takes that amount of time and is so intense, and there's all the pressures around it being finished because there's an opening coming up, there's all of those things. Could have been very easy to lose self-control around the process. So karakia was an important part of the installation process. And that was something that I imposed on myself and not on my assistants. They were obliging and took part when they were around, but that was very much a part of the process. And that was about, for me, that was about learning Perahoki as a karakia waiata, but it was also about following tikanga through the creative process of Toi Māori. So yeah, tikanga was a very important part for me. It was about understanding that the images, the shapes, the form are old, ancient shapes and forms that have evolved, have been developed by our tipuna. That was exciting, knowing that, or is exciting, knowing that, you know, me in this generation, I get to utilise those shapes and forms, and I get to present them to community, and through that process that people will be able to become familiar once more with them and hopefully be able to understand them. There was all that was part of the creative process. Those final few days were a privileged moment because, yeah, I was able to release, you know, all of the emotion and all of those fears or all of those dreams and aspirations that I had for the work. I was able to release that in those last few days. Yeah, and I was really grateful for that. I remember the clock tower chiming 7:45 and standing with the place completely cleaned. I had cleaned everything away, and there was just, I had put the audio of Perahoki on, so that was playing, and there was just myself, the karakia being chanted, and the image at 7:45 in the evening, so it was dark, there wasn't a lot of light, and it was just awesome.
rangi te mamange o te rangi he rongo purutia kia u purutia kia mau purutia mai te tauru o te rangi kia tina kia wena kia toka tō manawa ora ai ora a winuku a wirangi a witau a wipapa a wikere kere a wiwenua a wi kia rangi nui e tū nei kia papa e takoto kotu kaya witi a te nuku kotu kaya witi a te rangi tū apiti tū aropaki tawito tipua mane ane ararau Poua ki runga, poua ki raro, poua ki tā more more nui no rangi, ki tā more more nui no papa, he rongo he ai o tēnā tawito pauka tū. E tū nei te pou.
Kei ua te pou e tū ana.
Hei anei.
Hui e
Taiki e.